long before the echo of church bells or the whistle of colonial trains touched African soil. The Efik people of the Cross River region carried a tradition so sacred it was the pride of every family, the fattening room. It was not a place of punishment. It was not a prison. It was the cradle of womanhood. When a girl reached a certain age, still unspoiled by the storms of the world, her family would lead her, in celebration, to the fattening room. For weeks, sometimes months, she would be shut away from the noise of the village. She would eat rich, nourishing foods, rest, and grow into her full beauty. Elders would come in, not to gossip, but to teach her the deepest secrets of womanhood: how to run a home, how to treat her husband, how to raise children with wisdom, how to dance with grace, and how to honor the gods of her ancestors. The fattening room was more than four walls. It was a womb of rebirth. Inside, palm oil and herbs were rubbed on her skin, giving her a glow that rivaled the moonlight. Her body, once thin from childish play, blossomed into curves that symbolized health, fertility, and prosperity. For the Efik, a full figure was not vanity. It was a symbol of abundance. A bride with flesh was a bride whose husband would not suffer shame. She was proof that her family had prepared her well, that she carried wealth not only in her lineage but in her very body. And it wasn't just her body that was nurtured. The fattening room was a school, a sanctuary of wisdom. Songs were sung to her, parables were told, rituals were performed. She learned the duties of hospitality, the discipline of patience, the sacred art of cooking meals that carried the soul of the family. She was taught to honor her ancestors, for in honoring them, she drew blessings into a new home. In that sacred room, a girl became more than a child. She became a queen in waiting. When she finally emerged, the village would gather to see her. Her skin would glow from the oils and baths, her steps soft but confident, her waist adorned with beads that spoke of her readiness for the life ahead. The people would cheer, women ululating in joy, men nodding with respect. This was no ordinary transition. It was a rebirth celebrated by all. She stepped out, not as a girl to be admired, but as a woman to be honored. Marriage followed soon after, not with a stranger from the shadows, but with a man chosen with care by her family. She entered the union without the scars of heartbreak, without the weight of betrayal, without the bitterness of being tossed aside. Her heart was pure, her body was untouched, her spirit unbroken. What many outsiders could never understand was the spiritual essence of the fattening room. It was not simply about food and beauty. It was about aligning the young woman with the universe. She was made to sit in silence, to listen to the whispers of her spirit. She was told stories of the river goddess, of how water holds memory, and of how every woman carries the power of creation in her womb. Some nights, priests and priestesses would visit, offering blessings and divinations for her future. The fattening room was both physical and spiritual. To emerge from it was to step into destiny with both feet. But then, the white man came. He came not just with guns and chains, but with a different gospel. He spoke of a freedom that caught the roots of our customs. He mocked the fattening room as barbaric and pushed a new idea that a woman should wait, chase education first, and marry late. And slowly, the rhythm of the old ways was broken. Missionaries dismissed the fattening room as a house of laziness, not understanding that it was a sanctuary of learning. They mocked the value of full-bodied women, teaching instead that thinness was holiness. They told our women that their beads were sinful, their dances immoral, their oils demonic, and many believed them. Our young women began to walk the streets longer, not entering the safety of marriage in their youth, but roaming through a modern world that promised freedom, yet delivered wounds. They were told to find themselves first, yet many found heartbreak instead. Betrayal from men who only want their bodies, relationships that began with sweet words and ended with tears. By the time some found a husband, they carried invisible scars, emotional pain, mistrust, and the heaviness of experiences our ancestors had shielded them from. And those who still married young did so without the preparation, the grounding, and the blessings that the fattening room once gave. And when the fattening room was finally demonized, our daughters were handed something else, a new kind of preparation. They began to sit in church halls for marriage classes and read books written by strangers about how to make marriage work. But the truth is, the code of survival was never written in books. It was written in blood, in memory, and in the living culture of a people who knew that life's deepest truths are not taught in classrooms, but passed through the hands of elders. In ancient Africa, marriage was not a gamble, it was a sanctuary. A young woman entered it ready, guarded by her family's wisdom and protected by the structure of her culture. But the colonizer's hand took that sanctuary apart brick by brick, replacing it with a world where many enter marriage already tired, already broken, already doubting love. And so today, many look at the ruins and believe the ancient way was backward, forgetting that it was that very way that kept our daughters pure, our marriages strong, and our families whole. The fattening room also had an economic role. By preparing daughters well, families created alliances that strengthened clans. Wealth was shared, peace was built, disputes were softened by marriages that were deeply respected. The collapse of such systems weakened not just women, but the community itself. Even now, in some corners of Calabar and nearby towns, whispers of the fattening rooms still exist. Some wealthy families secretly send their daughters into seclusion before marriage, though in shorter modernized forms. Elders still lament, saying, if our daughters had the fattening room, they would not cry so much in their marriages. And anthropologists who once dismissed it now write about its forgotten strength, about how it built confidence, unity, and pride in women long before the world preached feminism. The fattening room was not just a tradition, it was a shield. And without it, our daughters have been left to fight battles they were never meant to face alone. If this story has touched your spirit, don't let it vanish into the shadows of time. Subscribe, like, and share so our history continues to breathe. And in the comments, tell us the next forgotten story you'd like us to bring back to life.